Am I live? Oh. I'm so sorry. Hello. I am live. I did not mean to press that so soon. All right. There we go. Oh, God. Ooh. How are y'all doing? Oh, goodness. There we go. Whew. I got wings. How are y'all doing today? Good morning or good afternoon, good morning. Hello, hello, hello. How are y'all doing today? Is it a good day for y'all? Yeah? Hi! So, I am Mama Dragon here. I feel like a bat dragon demon thing. I promise, I just put random things on my face. This is not any, demonic symbols or anything. So, I'm just being extra because I like the creepy things. And I got wings. So, let's just jump right on into it. Since I'm a little late, I apologize. Hey, my adult dragon is kind of lazy and he doesn't move as much as other adult dragons. So, there are many different reasons for this. Generally because of improper lighting or diet. Improper lighting is usually the main cause. Like if you don't have a UVB tube light and you have a coil bulb, that is one of the main causes. Also, not feeding the right amount of food. Like if they're an adult, they should be eating a salad every single day. And then when it comes to bugs, they should be eating that 2 to 3 times a week, not more. Yeah, and you also want to be sure that you have a good balance of veggies, fruits, and greens, of course. Hello, hello! I love the wings too. Y'all don't understand how cool I felt. Like I was running around the house like a little child. I was like, look at my wings when I got them. Spinach is not good for beauties. It is a calcium binder, so it has a lot of high oxalates in it. It is something that I don't feed ever to them, and I don't think should be fed ever. Kale, on the other hand, tends to be fed in a lot of pet stores like Petco, and that has to do with corporate. That has nothing to do with the actual stores, because my family member actually worked at a Petco, and they were a manager there, and they had no control over what was fed in the stores, but they did have control over how the care was given. So when it comes to kale, that is something that can be fed in small quantities with other greens, but should not be fed a lot because it also has high oxalates and is a calcium binder. So, next question. Can I feed my dragon veggies by syringe? This is what would be considered a slurry. So slurries, you can feed them. Just be mindful that with these, it's going to give them very watery poo, and just kind of like very liquidy watery poo. Because they don't have to digest it and it's like all liquid just going through them. So I do recommend feeding actual solid foods more than liquid. Like they should be eating solid foods unless they have like a disability or something where they can't digest, or they're like a rescue, or they're sick, maybe coming out of brumation. Like any of those are good reasons to give syringe feeding, but other than that, I would recommend just doing solid food. It's really good for them. Like syringe feeding isn't really meant to be used all the time. My beardy stays in one place and has not eaten in about a month. So that sounds like brumation. If you know nothing about brumation, look up my videos on my channel. I have a bunch of brumation videos, before care, after care, and explaining what brumation is. Hi, Michelle from New York, the Bronx. How are you and your bearded dragons doing? We're doing fabulous. There's a little man right here. He's doing good. And then Nixie is on the bottom. So she's doing well too. I am planning to get more babies soon. There's an expo coming up on March 20th. So I will definitely be bringing home one. It's just a question of if I will bring home more. Because we know I'm addicted. So, that's the big question. I have a beardy, but he tried to bite me the other day. I did not even touch him. So it could be that your hands smell like food, or they just didn't want to be touched. So there's that as well. If you see that dragons, and honestly reptiles in general, tend to trust you more and quicker if you respect their boundaries. So if they are showing that they are scared and don't want to be touched, and they're showing that they're a little aggressive, like back away, just respect that. Just back away. Like they will respect you. I mean, not necessarily respect you, but start to trust you more. How to help my beardy with Caustidia. So this is a really tricky one. It's one of the most annoying bacterias to get rid of. So when it comes to Caustidia, how that is caused is by unclean surroundings, generally from feces. So if you didn't clean up a spot well enough and they ended up licking it, that's a good way for them to get Caustidia. Say you have another dragon in there, which you should not be cohabiting, but if you do have another dragon in there, that's another reason why Caustidia is, you know, caused a lot, because there's just so much feces going on and not enough cleanliness. Also, bleach does not kill Caustidia at all, so you need an actual Caustidia disinfectant, which is something that I get off of beardeddragon.co. And I actually have a whole video on how to treat parasites and how to clean for Caustidia in there, and it gives you the link to that bottle and everything. But it is on beardeddragon.co. Beardeddragon.co also has caustidial meds. Oh, fuck, what is it called? Antibiotic. My bad, I cannot think of the word. They also have Pancure and other stuff on there as well. What can I give my beardy so she gains weight? So really it's a question of, do they need to gain weight? Because a lot of people have like a smaller dragon and then they think that they're too small and they end up overfeeding them when actually they didn't need that much food. So I would really be mindful on if they actually need to gain weight. Because a lot of the time dragons are actually a lot thicker than they need to be when you see photos like from just random owners. A lot of times like people feed them too much, so they be a little thicker than they need to be. Which, you know, is what it is, but it is a fact of the matter. Captive babies are fed very well, very well. So be mindful of that. But if you are trying to put weight on them, I would stick with things that have water and fat, like hornworms or waxworms. But these are treats, not staples. So again, you need to be careful with that. Really, it's just feeding them the right diet is what will put proper weight on them. But if you're trying to overfeed them and feed them more to get them to a certain weight, that's not healthy for them. Is iceberg lettuce good for bearded dragons? No. Any light leafy green or lettuce, to be honest, I don't feed any lettuce at all. The nutritional value just isn't in it for them. Also, there's been a lot of like lettuce bacterial outbreaks and stuff, and there was like an incident a few years back, I want to say it was like 2 years back now, that was in one of the bearded dragon groups where they fed iceberg lettuce to their dragon and they ended up dying because of a bacteria outbreak that was going on and they didn't know about. So like I just don't feed lettuce at all. No, mostly because of that, but also simply because it just does not have any nutritional value. You want to feed them dark leafy greens, like collard greens, you know, escarole, stuff like that. Thank you. I love my wings too. I feel very fancy. My name is Sully and my bearded dragon is named Yoshi. Well, it's very nice to meet you both. My baby bearded dragon is not eating. He just stopped. Help. So I would take them to the vet. I would get a fecal done. If they're a baby bearded dragon, I would definitely go to the vet and get a fecal done and have them help you. Hi, you're amazing. Love your wings. Do your dragons have wing envy? Man, do you know how cool it would be if bearded dragons actually had wings? That would be kind of like terrifying though. Like imagine bringing home a dragon that you haven't tamed yet and it's just freaking everywhere. I could like it'd be cool, but like also not at the same time. Especially when they get hungry, like imagine them just pitter-pattering at the glass because they're mad and they're hungry. Like, no baby, I'm gonna need you to chill. Let me see. Going down, going down. This is my first time chat with you. Well, welcome. It's so great to have you, Anish. Are heat emitters good for, are heat emitters good for bearded dragons? So the only time that you use a CHE, which is a ceramic heat emitter bulb, is when it's nighttime, for one. Or like at nighttime if it is below 65 degrees Fahrenheit, because you aren't supposed to have any lights on at all at night, especially not colored lights. Like I know colored lights are marketed to you guys as night lights, but these are not good for dragons, and they are not good for reptiles as a whole. It's just not good for them. So the reason, think about it, like these lights are meant to mimic their natural habitat. So they don't have lights on at nighttime. So they don't need lights on at nighttime. I get the fear with them being cold, but honestly, as long as it does not get below 65 degrees Fahrenheit, they are fine, and they do not need any heat source at night. They do not need any lights at night. But if you do have want to get that, and if it is getting below 65 degrees Fahrenheit, a CHE bulb is what you would put in there. And that is a heat emitter. It doesn't create light, it just produces heat. And they have a bunch of different wattages. For this tank, I would use a 150 watt heat emitter if I needed it at night. But I don't. I don't use any heating in any of my tanks at night. Ask away, hun, if you have a question. Wow. Hello, Jonah. How are you doing? I just rescued a 2-year-old beardy who is only 8 grams in weight. I'm trying everything to get vitamins and calcium in her. I feel so bad for her. Do you have any recommendations? If they haven't seen a vet, I would highly recommend taking them to a vet and getting some tests done. That is always what I do with any new dragons that I get, especially rescues. Simply because there could be other things going on that are causing that weight loss. Or it could just be that they were neglected, which is generally the case, but there could also be something else going on. Because when you have such a frail dragon that's underweight, it's easier for them to get ill. So I really would check that out. I would also get like a blood test done to make sure that they don't have something called adenovirus. And it's called adenovirus or atadenovirus in dragons, which is very contagious for dragons. It can't be transferred to humans, but like if you have another dragon and one has adenovirus, that dragon, even if they're in the same room, will catch it. So you need to be very careful about that. Besides that, just giving them slurries would probably be a good idea, because feeding anything living that hasn't eaten in a while just solid foods and just starting them on a diet like that will make them ill. So you have to be very careful with that and feed them like in slow portions and like slowly up it as they go to like so their stomach can expand with it and not just be shocked with the food. Definitely calcium. If you don't have liquid calcium, definitely get liquid calcium. Besides that, I have a whole series on actually rehabilitating a rescue dragon of my own. And it's about 3 videos, I think. So if you are interested in that, hey little ether bug. So if you're interested in that, go look at that. And I go through meds that I bought, where I bought them, what I did, how I handled them, how I tamed them, just everything. Like it just goes through the whole process. So there's more information there. Going down, 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 down. We accidentally used a 200 watt and blew out the lampshade. Yeah, that does happen. You have to be careful with the wattage of your bulbs. So like, I'm gonna tell y'all a story that I swore I would never tell. I swore, because it's so embarrassing. Also, it wasn't my fault. Totally my ex's fault. But this dome light, not this one, but dome light when I had Belly and Opie, way back in like my first apartment, way back, actually before I even started the channel. Like this was right before I started the channel. And I had a light like this, and we had a top opening tank, so we always had to take the light off, or we usually would take the light off, which was so stupid. Don't take the light off. Don't take the light off the screen, or just mount it if you have that, because they will burn out quicker. Anyways, so I didn't put the eggs. Put the dough on the table, on our nice wood table, and it was still on. So when I returned from work that day, there was smoke everywhere because the light was burning the table. And I couldn't see, and yeah, it was a whole thing. So be careful with that. Be very, very careful. It does cause fires and stuff. My boy Chip loves butternut squash. Oh yes, they love butternut squash. It's also really, really, really good for their teeth. It is like their natural toothbrush, basically. So if you feed a lot of soft things, it is really, really good to feed hard things and crunchy things like butternut squash or carrots per se. I actually haven't fed carrots in years because it's really, I mean, you can feed it, but it's not the best thing for them. It's something you can feed in small quantities, but butternut squash you can feed every day if you want, and that is a natural toothbrush, and it's great for them. Let me see. How often should you get out your dragon to play? So this one really kind of depends on the dragon, you, and your time. Me, I like to get them out as often as I can, but after they're done basking and everything else. Like if I see them under the light, like he is over here, basking or whatever, I'm not going to take him out because he's trying to get warm. Now, if he's over here running around and acting amok, I'm going to take him out. Like that's him telling me he wants to come out. But I try to take them out at least once a day, sometimes more depending. But other than that, like there are some days where I can't take them out because I had to work all day. Like I had to work like from, I don't know, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. and I come home and I'm super tired and they're super tired, and it's just, they're, at that point I'm not going to take them out. But it really just depends. So with them, I will say if you start a routine and you break that routine, say you take them out every single day and they're used to that, and then you just stop taking them out, they will have a hard time being comfortable with you again. So like you have to keep that routine. That is just one little tidbit I want to give y'all, because there was a period of time where I was living at my parents' house before I moved into my own apartment. These lizards actually have their own room here. I had not been able to take out little Nixie as much as I wanted to, so when I started taking her out every single day, she was a little standoffish with me. Like she used to, for example, would always come up to my hand and run in it, but like this time when I went back to get her and start that routine again, she would like back away from my hand. So it's like little things like that. Like you have to keep that routine or they will start to not be as comfortable with you. Especially when you get to big lizards, like big lizards, that you have to be really, really careful with, because they will get angry with you. Like they will feel like you abandoned them. So just be careful with that. So my Beardy lamp went out and I had not had a chance to get a new one. What do I do? Well, you need to order one or go buy one as soon as you can. But besides that, there are other ways to keep them warm. I actually have a video on how to keep them warm when the power goes out or in the winter. Both of those will be useful to you. It's all different ways to keep them warm when you don't have electricity, basically. So I would look at those, and it goes through a bunch of links of stuff you can buy or things you can do at home, like split second, but those videos would be the best bet for you. But this is also why it is a really, really, really good idea to have backup bulbs. I always had backup bulbs for this reason. My bearded dragon's name is Kiwi. That is adorable. I love it. Kiwi. That just sounds like a little bite-sized baby. That's just adorable. I love it. Ooh, almost lost y'all. My bad. I didn't mean to drop y'all like that. thank you. I'm gonna check those videos out. I've been giving her slurries. His bad leg is stacking slightly, and I have appointment to see a vet. Is sticking maybe? Okay, well, I'm happy you have an appointment to see the vet. That is definitely what you need to do. Slurries, that's a good idea as well, Miss Alicia Marie. And yeah, it seems like you're doing everything right. It's just hard for me right on this standpoint because I have a lot of information, but without actually seeing what's going on, or being able to like test anything, because I am not a vet. I'm just an experienced owner. I can't really give that information or like the proper help. I can just like give you ideas, if that makes sense. So I'm sorry I can't be more helpful, but a vet definitely can be, because that is what I went to school for. I just read lots of books, talked to professionals, and had my experience. Lots of trial and error. My dragon my lizard is a xeromorph. That's pretty cool. My dragon's humidity is at 19%. Is that okay? Well, that is very, very low humidity. The only thing I would worry about with this is them having issues with shedding and stuff like that. So really, it's better if they have a little bit more humidity, to be quite honest. But it's not going to kill them to be in that type of humidity. It's just they might have a little bit of issues with like shedding and stuff like that. So just be mindful of that. Do you have to cook the butternut squash? So I have a video where I said that you have to cook butternut squash. This was something that was, at the time, it was like fact going around the bearded dragon community, but every single year we always come up with better information, newer information, and I always try to stay very up to date with that. So with that, no, you do not need to cook the squash. That is more of a treat, and it honestly just kind of takes out some of the nutrients, and it takes away the benefit of it being a natural toothbrush. So I do not cook my squash, not anymore, and I give it to them raw, but I definitely chop it up into little pieces or shred it, which is good for them. But the little chunks, like the tiny little like square chunks, the little bite-sized square chunks, are really what helps get all that plaque off their teeth. Because think about it, they have like a bunch of soft stuff on their teeth, and that crunchy hard stuff just pushes it off and kind of just cleans it for them without you having to actually brush their teeth. So just be mindful of that. You do not have to cook the squash though. What does it mean if my bearded dragon has faint colors? So, where did he go? There he is. So for a dragon, faint colors or lighter colors aren't a bad thing. It just means that they're very relaxed. It can also mean that they are sick as well. See, that's the tricky thing about dragons. Like, their coloring can mean a lot of different things. So for example, his stomach right now. Those little things on his, let me see if I can get a good angle of this. There is a huge glare. I don't know if y'all can see me. Let me see. I'm so sorry. Let's see. Can you see him? Okay. These little parts right here, these are stress marks. My fingers are not bugs, bruh. So those little parts on his belly are stress marks, okay? But with him, he always has dark marks on his belly, okay? But when he gets stressed or when he's trying to suck up heat, those marks will get darker. So that's one example of like confusion that goes on in dragons, because not everyone has those patches just naturally on their stomach all the time. Some dragons have a very white stomach. So when those appear, or when people have dragons like that with the stomach like that, they get very confused and like, oh no, my dragon's upset. They're not upset. They're fine. But he is also very faint in color right now because, I mean, there's nothing, he's just chilling. Like, he had his basking time, he's just chilling. Now, when they are sick, they can either be super, super faint and pale in color, and if that is coming, like it's concerning type pale, it's usually an iron issue. So like blood, like it's usually an iron issue. And when you start to have that, it's because you've been feeding too much fatty things. And I know that's like, and I know that like it kind of is hard to like put together, but it's what a vet had told me with a dragon they had seen that was like very, very pale, and I didn't understand why, and they said it was iron, and then I asked, anyways. So light color doesn't always mean a bad thing. So it can mean that they are just relaxed. If they are like showing other signs of them being ill, like laying down, not mobile, that type of pale, I would get them to a vet very quickly. If they are showing signs of like a very dark tail, very inactive, and then a black beard, and then everything else is pale, that is 100% a sign of them being sick. And you need to take them to the vet immediately and get some testing done. So a lot of different meanings for that. I know it can be tricky with dragons and trying to tell what is an issue and what isn't, but this is also why I created the series of what your bearded dragon is trying to tell you. So if you haven't seen that series, I have 4 or 5, I'm pretty sure it's 4, just 4 videos on that. And I also have a little bit on your mastics as well for that series. But those should help, and I hope that helped enough. Sorry, y'all. Oops. Oh yeah, I forget that I can zoom. That is such a cool feature. Okay. Let's see. My baby has lumps in her belly. That is either eggs, poo, or something more serious. I would go to a vet. Ooh. Oh my gosh. Let me see. Oh. My baby glass surfs when he needs to poo. Is that a bad sign? No, that is actually a very normal sign. That is one of the reasons that I actually listed in my Why Your Bearded Dragon is Glass Surfing video. I have a whole video like explaining all the different reasons on why dragons will glass surf. So if you want to go check that out, it is up on my channel. So I use collard greens, arugula greens, and gonna try butternut squash. Should I add anything else? So everything sounds good with that Jack's Joe, but the only thing with arugula is don't feed that in high quantity like every single day. Like don't feed it as a staple, simply because it has a lot of natural salt in it, so it can actually dehydrate them. So definitely be like, it's okay to feed, it's good for them and everything, it's just it becomes an issue if you were to feed that every day. It'll start to dehydrate them. But past that, feeding a little bit of arugula with other things is not bad. I would also try radicchio. Like radicchio is this it kind of is, it's in the shape of a cabbage, right? And it's red and white leaves. And it adds a little bit of color, and it's also crunchy and has a lot of water in it, and they love it. It is one of the things I use to put color in their salad and make it look more interesting, which I'm actually creating a whole video on creating salads that your dragon will like, and it'll be my Beardy Chef video where I just create a dozen salads for you guys that will get your dragon to eat. So that'll be later on. But I will take 1 or 2 more questions here, and then I'm gonna hop off because we are almost at a half hour. I have a bridge for my Beardy like yours, but its suction cups never stick. Does that happen to you too? And if it does, how do you get it to stick? So Aether is such an active dragon that I always have to restick those. Particularly this one right here, I always have to sit there and restick it after a while, because he will sit there and jump from here to here and then knock it down, like after a while, like, because after a while it's gonna lose grip, you know. But with the hammock part, this part comes down as well sometimes. Like it's not guaranteed to stay unless you're gonna sit there and like Gorilla Glue it, which I would not recommend. So I just sit there and like reconnect it every couple days, just resuction it. Not a big deal. He's being active. It's a good reminder that he's being very active and loves the toys and stuff for me. So I don't worry about it too much. But if it does become a problem, you can always buy different suction cups. Like you can take those off and just like buy new ones. Like the one I have like the suction cups have like a little string that ties into it, and then you tie that to the actual like woven, I don't know what this is, woven hammock ladder thing. I thought it was going to be longer. Like I thought this thing when I bought it, they said it was large, right? I thought it was going to go from here all the way over, but it doesn't. But I'm not like too salty about it. Maybe just a little. But he loves it, so that's okay. All right, one more question. Let me see. Oh my goodness. Oh, I missed something. And thank you so much, Aletha Burns, for your contribution. Oh my goodness. Let's see. How do you know if your bearded dragon is dehydrated? Do they need water in their tank? So this is a huge controversy in the bearded dragon community. The reason why it's a controversy is because dragons don't generally drink water. They're supposed to be getting the majority of their water from their diet. So generally you're not going to see your dragon drink water. And so it being in there causes high humidity. It's known to cause high humidity, and that's not good for them. So that's why there's the issue. But having a water ball in the tank, as long as it's not causing a lot of humidity, isn't a bad thing. Like it's not gonna kill them, okay? But I don't. Let me see. When it comes to being dehydrated, the best way to tell is if you look at their little belly and stuff, like the little belly part. If their skin, if you can sit there and stick their skin together and then it just stays like that, same with humans, and it just stays like that for a while, they're dehydrated. Also, another way to show that they're dehydrated is if their eyes are sunken in, if their fat pads are sunken in on top of their head. Yeah, those are like all the ways you can tell. And somebody said something about clogged pores. These, please just don't squeeze them. Like you should not be touching their pores. I don't touch my male's pores at all. Never. I don't touch him because he has all these rocks and stuff here. He naturally scrapes it off. It is natural for them to have wax coming from there. It is their way of marking their territory and spreading pheromones. It is natural. You shouldn't squeeze it, and you should just leave it alone. Like that is it's like one of my biggest pet peeves, and it makes me want to cry every time I see someone messing with the pores and trying to squeeze it and pop it like a zit, and that's just so unhealthy and harmful to them. So just leave it alone. But of course, I am so happy that y'all joined me, and I have to hop off now, but I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, of course, and I hope you enjoyed this. And if you would like to see any other weird costumes or SFX makeup, which I'm really good at, I will do that. I honestly want to get a bearded dragon costume too at some point, because how freaking lit would that be if I just popped up like, hey guys! But yeah, so I will see y'all on Wednesday or Saturday. I'm gonna figure it out. Bye. Mwah.